Alright, what's going on YouTube? Today we are looking at Random Card Deck Tech Volume number 19. We're doing White Blue Oath of Teferi. So we're going to get into this, take a look at how we're going to use our Super Friends to hopefully win a game. This deck is probably not very competitive and too expensive for what it is, so there's a good chance you'll never use it, but that's okay. I like it. It's pretty slow getting going, but once it gets going, it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those decks that you play against your friends that you just want to make them mad. So that's kind of what we were shooting for. Let's see what you think. Alright, welcome back here, YouTube. Like I said, we are doing Random Card Deck Tech Volume number 19, White Blue Oath. Probably seen this deck or something similar to it around. I didn't look anything up. I just kind of, went off of what I felt. And I don't know if this deck's worth a crap. I've tested it a few times, and it usually draws out okay. But like I said before, it starts kind of slow. And if you don't get some of the enchantments and things to help you, it can lose pretty easily. But when you really get things going and you get the right draw, it can be very frustrating for your opponents to have a bunch of creatures that they just can't use and making all their stuff worthless. So that's fun. It's a fun way to play. You guys know me. I like weird stuff. I like doing things not necessarily to win, but sometimes just to be funny. So let's get into it here. We're going to start with our enchantments because our main card that we're working with this week is Oath of Teferi. 5-drop. When it comes in, you can exile a permanent you control and return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So you can use that to, flicker some things. We got some things in here that can benefit from that. Even if it's maybe a planeswalker that you've already got out there and you want to be able to activate that ability 3 times in one turn. That'd be pretty cool. You wouldn't be able to do that, would you? Because it comes in at the end step. My bad. My bad. That's my fault. You can use that to untap a land, or I suppose that, I don't know how the rulings work, but if you use that on an enchantment like Cast Out, if you've got a Cast Out on something small and you want to move it to something big, can you use that ability? Somebody let me know down there in the comments section, because I think that you should be able to flicker your Cast Out and move it to a new target. That's how I would expect it would work, but I could be wrong. But you can definitely use it to untap a land, or get one of your creatures untapped, something like that. So, Oath of Teferi's second ability is the main one that we're working with based on building this deck. We used a lot of planeswalkers. The second ability there is you may activate the loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control twice each turn rather than only once. So, we will look at those planeswalkers in just a second. We also went with 2 copies of Cast Out, 4 copies of Seal Away, and 2 copies of Search for Azcanta. Cast Out and Seal Away are obviously just to help us last long enough to get these planeswalkers out and going, and hopefully get a Oath of Teferi on the board as well. We've also got Search for Azcanta there to help us get through, find the things we need, find the things we want, so that we can make this deck get working right. Like I said, we'll look at the Planeswalkers now. Went with 3 copies of Dovin Bond. His ability, his first +1 ability, is hilarious when you can start using that multiple times per turn. It kind of shuts down your creatures a little bit, especially when combined with Gideon. Gideon makes it so that you can prevent all damage from a target permanent until your next turn. Dovin Bond makes it so that a target creature gets -3, -0. And you can use those in combination with Oath of Teferi to just shut your opponent's creatures down. Then we also got, I guess I should go over the rest of these abilities, huh? I'm having some serious ADD today. His -1 is gain 2 life, draw a card. And then -7, his ultimate is Rude. It makes it so your opponents can not untap more than 2 permanents during their untap step. And then, like I said, we got a Gideon here. Gideon's +1, like I said, prevents all damage from a target permanent. And then he's got 2 0 abilities. You can either make him a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible and prevents all damage and all that crap. or you can zero him and get an emblem with, as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker, you can't lose the game. So that's another one that being able to knock off multiple abilities each turn is pretty fun. We got 2 copies of Jace Ingenious Mind Mage. I went with this one because of the draw ability, really. We don't have many creatures in the deck, but if we can get to that ultimate ability and activate that, take our opponent's stuff. Again, this is a slow deck, so hopefully they've got some good creatures out there by the time we get there, and we can take those from them permanently and use them to crush their stupid faces. I went with only 2 copies of Karn here too. Karn, like I'm sure you know, is good in every deck. Lets you really, get through your deck, find some cards, find what you're looking for. Your opponents are choosing what you get on that +1, but on the -1, whatever they don't choose, you can get back on that next turn. Probably not going to use the -2 very often in this deck. There's not any other artifacts to help out. But it's just going to be a filter Planeswalker, essentially, especially when you can start using that more than once each turn. And finally, we got 3 copies of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. This one's really good with Oath of Teferi and Dovinbon, Gideon, things like that. Let you draw some cards on his +1. His -3 can get rid of some big threats and put them back in their owner's library, and they have to, wait until they can draw that out later. And that ultimate ability is another one that is just plain rude, especially with all the card draw and help we get in this deck. So -8, you get an emblem. Whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent and opponent controls. So if you start making multiple plays each turn with your Planeswalkers and drawing extra cards, and it can really become a headache. So then our 4 creatures for the deck, we went with 2 copies of Azor the Lawbringer, and he is an expensive 6/6 flyer, costs 6 to play. When he enters the battlefield, your opponents can't cast instant or sorcery spells on their next turn, and then hopefully we can get that Teferi emblem out there, and then when Azor attacks, you can pay X and a white and 2 blue, and then you gain X life and draw X cards. And then if you've got that emblem out there, you just start exiling all your opponent's stuff, and that's the funnest way to win. And then the second creature here is 2 copies of Glyph Keeper. He's one of those creatures that requires multiple forms of removal to get rid of, because the first time he's targeted each turn, you counter that spell. So essentially, and that applies to your spells as well, so you can't protect him at all as far as giving him hexproof or something like that. But no big deal. So that's the 2 creatures. I went with a couple of bigger flying threats to hopefully finish the game pretty quick once we get to the point where we've got those creatures out on the board. And they can also, if you can't win the game, they can slow your opponent down enough that you can get your Planeswalker mess going and mess them up. And a couple instant spells here. We went with 2 copies of Gideon's Reproach, just to kind of help get rid of creatures early in the game. And 4 copies of Negate, just to, hopefully we're going to save those and use them later in the game when our opponents are trying to get rid of our Planeswalkers or our enchantments or our creatures, things like that. So that's the deck. It's probably, it's an expensive one. TCG players got it $310.19. So it is not as competitive as the price would make it seem, but Teferi is running at $40. What's Karn? Karn's at $51. So those are both very expensive still. Gideon of the Trials is still $15. There's not much, I don't think, there's some lands that are close to $5. But for the most part, all of the cost of this deck is in the Karn and Teferi. But, like I said, if you've got the cards or you've got the money and want to try it out, it can be super annoying for your friends. And if you're like me, you play Magic to annoy your friends. Just don't annoy them so much that they don't play with you anymore. So I'm glad you got to watch. Thanks for stopping in. If you get a chance and want to leave a comment below, let us know what you think of the deck, what you would do differently, how stupid it is for how expensive it is, and we are happy to hear those comments, even the bad ones. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Deuces. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, come down here and press this thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to turn on notifications so that you'll see when we post new content. If you got anything to say, hit us up down here in the comments section. We always love hearing feedback and comments from people that are watching. Let us know what you think. See you next time.